Hello Widget Watchers, welcome back to another video. And today we are starting with the fundamental topic for any Flutter developer, mastering Dart basics. Understanding Dart is crucial because it's the language Flutter is built on, and having a solid grasp on Dart will set the foundation for your journey in mobile app development. In today's video we will cover the basics of Dart, including variables, control flow and functions. By the end of this video, you will have the knowledge needed to write clean, efficient Dart code. So let's dive right in. And before move forward, to keep bringing you high quality Flutter tutorials like this, consider supporting the channel by joining our membership. Your support helps me continuing creating in-depth content for you all. Before jumping into coding, let's discuss what Dart is and why it's important. Dart is an open source general purpose programming language developed by Google. It's optimized for building mobile, web and server-based application, and it is known for being easy to learn, especially if you are familiar with languages like Java, JavaScript or C++. Dart uses a C-style syntax, which means if you are worked with other programming languages, it will feel familiar. But what sets Dart apart is its combination of object-oriented programming and functional programming styles. So here I have opened the Dartpad and here I have created this simple program. So this is the simplest Dart program. We have a main function which is the entry point of any Dart application and the print statement which outputs text to the console. Dart code is organized into functions and classes just like most modern programming languages. Now if you run this code, then you can see in the console we have this hello Dart string getted printed. So this is the simple Dart program. Now let's talk about variables. In Dart, a variable is used to store data and you can define variables using var, final or const keywords. The type of data stored can be anything from numbers, strings or even complex object. Like here inside this main function, let's create a variable named as name and assign the value to widget wisdom here. So in this example, we use var to declare a variable where Dart infers the type. You can also explicitly declare types like int or string. Like here I'm creating a int variable for storing age and assign the value to 25 into this. So here we have explicitly assigned its type to int, and in case for name, Dart directly infers its type to string. Apart from this, you can also add the final or const variable in Dart. Like here, let's create a final variable as height and assign the value 6.0 into it. So this final variable cannot be changed. Then let's also create a const variable by adding const pi and assign its value to 3.1416. So this is the constant value. Now you may ask, what's the difference between this final and const? So the important distinction is that final is set once at runtime, whereas the const is set at compile time. Now let's look at some example where variable play a key role. So here create a variable as x and assign the value 10 to it. Then create a variable y and assign the value 5 to it. Now create another variable named sum and assign its to x plus y. Then print the sum, like the sum is, then use the dollar sign and sum. So in Dart we use this dollar sign to concatenate the string. So basically here we have created two variables x and y and then use them to calculate a sum. The result is printed using Dart string interpolation, where we place the variable inside the string using the dollar sign. Next up, let's talk about control flow. Control flow statement allows you to manage the flow of your execution in your program. This includes conditions like if else, loop like for and while, and the powerful switch statement. Like here create a variable as score and assign its value to 85. Then below this add a if condition that if score is greater than or equals to 90. In that case print excellent. And then again add an else if and here check if score is greater than or equals to 75. In that case print good, otherwise needs improvement. So this is a basic if-else block that evaluates the condition inside the parenthesis and executes the appropriate block of the code. Here, if the score is 90 or above, it prints excellent. If it's between 75 and 89, it prints good. Otherwise, it prints needs improvement. Now, if you save the code, then you can see our score is 85. In that case, this second else if will work, because first it will check that score is 85, that is greater than or equals to 90, and it's not true. So it will go inside this condition, and here it will check that 85 is greater than or equals to 75. So it will print good. Now let's move on to loops. Loops allow us to execute a block of code multiple times that support for, while, and do while loops. Let's see the for loop. So for adding a for loop, we need to add the for. Now inside this for loop, we need to add three things. First one is the initial value. Second one is the stopping value, like when the loop should stop. And third is the what happened after each iteration. So here we will increment the value. But before that, first add the initial value of I as 0. And then assign the stopping condition like I less than 5, and then I plus plus, so that it will increment the I value after each iteration. And inside this, add the print statement which will say iteration and $i. So this is a basic for loop which executes the print statement 5 times. You initialize a counter variable I, set a condition to stop the loop when I less than 5 become false, and increment I after each iteration. Now let's talk about the while loop. So while loop will continue execution as long as the condition remains true. Like here, I'm creating a count variable and assigning it value to 0. Then here add a while, and here tell the while loop to run until the count value is less than to 3. So then come inside the while loop, and here add the print statement and say count is $count, and then increment the count value. So here if you don't increment the count value, then this while loop will continue going to running forever. So here add the count and then plus plus sign, so that it will increment its value. Now if you save the code, then you can see we have our count statement 3 times. Okay. And finally, now let's talk about the switch statement. So switch statement is a great alternative to multiple if-else checks when you need to compare a single variable against different value. So for example, here create a grade variable and assign its value to B. Then add a switch. Then here add the grade here, so that it knows that what it needs to check. In this case, we are checking grade. Then add the curly braces, and then add a case that if grade value is A, then print excellent, and then break this statement. Then here add second case that if its value B, then print good and break the loop, and then set the default value like print try harder, like if grade is something else than A or B. Now if you save the code, then you can see we have good printed because our grade value is B. So the switch statement evaluates the grade variable and matches it against predefined classes. It's clean, concise, and easy to read. Finally, let's explore functions in Dart. Functions allows you to encapsulate code into reusable blocks. In Dart, a function is defined with a return type, a name, and a body. So for example, here I'm creating a function named greetUser, and this function will take a parameter as name, and then inside this function block I'll just print hello and the name. Now come to the main function, and from here call this greetUser function, and here add the name as let's say visit wisdom. Now if you save the code, then you can see we have this hello visit wisdom. So in this example, we have just a simple greetUser function that takes a string argument and prints a greeting. Functions can accept parameters, and you can pass them when you call the function like we do here with widget wisdom. Now let's see a function that returns some value. So create a function as add numbers and mark its return type as int, and then this function will take two parameters, int a and b, and then inside this function we will just return a plus b. Now come to the main function and here create a new variable as result and assign the add number function to it, and inside the values part add the 5 and 3. Now just print the result as print sum is and $result. Now if you save the code and run the app, then you can see we have got the result as 8. So here we have defined a function add numbers that takes two integer, adds them and return the result. When you want a function to return something, you specify the return type, which in this case is int. Function can also be written in a more compact form using arrow syntax when the function body has only a single expression. Like let's say create a new function for multiplying numbers. So here add the return type as int and name this function as multiply numbers, and this function will take two parameters, int a and int b. Now we just need to multiply int a and int b. So for that here add the a cross b. Now here add this arrow so that Dart will know that this is an arrow function and it needs to be returned this value. So this is the same as normal function but written in a concise format using the arrow operator. Now come to the main function and call this multiply number function from this result variable. Okay, and here let the value be 5 and 3. Now if you run the app, then you can see in the console we have 15. So this arrow function is working perfectly. And that's a wraps up for today's video. We have covered a lot of Dart basics, variables, control flow and functions. These core concepts will be essential as we dive deeper into Flutter development. If you have any question, feel free to drop them in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more Flutter tutorials, and I'll see you in the next video.